on this computer. Okay, I'm gonna open the chat too, just so I can. Perfect. Okay, so mindset. I think there's a lot of new people here too that like maybe don't know my story so much. So I'm gonna spend like 5 minutes and kind of introduce myself a little bit and talk about why I think mindset is important and kind of why Ariel changed my entire life. So I started with this company about 2 years ago. I originally came here because I was sad, stressed, depressed, hated being a mom, thought I was failing at everything, thought I was failing at life, couldn't get anything accomplished. I felt like was always screaming at my kids, was always screaming at my husband. I was just a disaster. And Amanda Gracie, I'm going to call her out. I always do. She knows this, but she and I used to do another business together. And she was just as poorly as I was, but hers was very outward. Mine was very much an internal, like silent struggle. And I only abused my husband, if I'm being honest. And I call it abuse because I was not kind. I was abusive, like in every verbal way of it, I was. And Amanda, one night we got together and she was put together and she had things in order. And I was like, what in the world is this girl have and what is she on? And like I don't even care. I don't even care if it's drugs at this point because I was just like my lowest point that I was like, if she's doing drugs, I'll do them with her. Like I'm tired of feeling like this, right? Like, and she's like, it's all natural. And I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. If it's okay, if you don't mind, I don't believe you. And she handed me 2 pink pills. And I went home and I put them in my drawer and I never took them. I was like in February. And then in April, she calls me and she's like, did you ever try those pink pills? And I'm like, no. And I was in a really pissed off mood. And she was like, I think you should try one today. I was like, I think you should just, what do you want? Like, I thought she was just calling me because she wanted me to join the business, honestly. And I think she kind of did at that point because I think that like we were new at all this. And I think that was more of what it was. And I was like, fine, I'll try it. You're driving me nuts. I'll just try it. And she wasn't driving me nuts. She literally had asked me twice, but that was nuts to me. Okay. Like, who could ask somebody something twice? Like, so I took it and I had the best morning that I had had in probably 3 years. I got my whole to-do list done. My thoughts weren't all over the place. I didn't feel like I was going to cry. I didn't feel like I was overwhelmed. And then I think I called her halfway through the day and I was like, what is in that pink pill? And how do I get more? And that was how I started here. Little did I know that that pink pill was going to completely change my life. It completely changed my life. I didn't realize how much physical pain I was living in every day. I didn't realize how much um, a mental damage I was doing to myself. I was very, very hard on myself. I wasn't kind to myself. Um, I did not really like pour into myself the way that I should. Personal development was something I was told to do, but I never really did. I said I did it, but I really didn't, you know. Reading a book is not going to cut it. I hate to say that, but like personal development is a whole way of life. It's a whole way of life. You can read all the books you want, but unless you're going to implement some of the things that you learn, nothing's going to change, right? Like that's the reality. So I was just somebody that really wasn't good at all of that. And then the pink pill helped me to start to see a lot of the things I was doing to myself and a lot of the things that I was doing to my family. And a lot of the ways that like my issues were now becoming, I was making them my kids' issues unnecessarily. Like my OCD issues, like I was putting off onto my kids. And I didn't even realize it, you know, like I think one of my most powerful moments, and then I'll like kind of give my mindset tips after this, but I think one of my most powerful moments was when my son had like an Orby ball, you know, those like little gel like ball things that like grow in water. They're horrendous, right? But he had like a stress ball that he made at therapy and it was in like 2 balloons while the thing popped. And there was probably 1,000 Orbeez like bouncing all over my tile floor because I don't have a lick of carpet in my house. There is tile from wall to wall, right? So they're bouncing everywhere. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like staring at it. And he immediately starts sobbing. And he's like, Mommy, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to clean it up. And I just sat there. It always makes me cry. And I thought, what the fuck have I done to you? What have I done to you? Oh my God. Oh my God. What have I done to my kid? This is, it's little balls. He made it. He made a mistake. You know, he made a mistake. He had an accident. He was upset about the thing that he broke. And I was going to make him feel bad because he made a mess. And I couldn't see that before. I couldn't see that before Vibe High. I couldn't see that shit that I was doing to them, right? So that's where I was at that point. And that's when I think that was a day that I knew how many other moms are putting their OCD shit on their kids and their overwhelmed nonsense onto their family, right? And that's when I started to get loud with my journey. And I had a lot of success in the beginning. I had a lot of success because I was loud, friends. I was loud. I told everybody how I felt. I was live all the time. I pushed it and I did really, really, really awesome here. And I gained a lot of amazing, loyal customers here that still shop with me every single month for the last 2 years, like without a doubt. But my life then fell apart again last year. And if it wasn't for this community, and if it wasn't for the fact that I had already done so much work on my mental stability, I would have completely gone off the deep end, And I started thinking about that today when I was thinking about, I'm like, what are you going to say in this training? And I was listening to all these podcasts today because I haven't really listened to podcasts in a hot minute. And I was like, I need to catch up on some stuff while I'm wrapping all my kids' gifts and packing. I'm like, let me just put my earbuds in and listen to some podcasts. So let me just say that's like first and foremost right there. Like write that one down. I'm going to give you guys like my top 10 like little list here. And listen to podcasts is the last one that I have on here, but write that down first. Find 3 or 4 podcasts that like resonate with you. I really like this guy called the Mindset Mentor. His name is Rob Dial. I started listening to him because of Jennifer Parker, but he is just a no bullshit kind of guy that he does not consider himself a motivational speaker. He just considers himself somebody that wants to help you see like the error of like our past and like the things that get stuck in us and that cause us to act certain ways. He just wants to kind of like help you unfuck yourself a little bit. And he's great. And his episodes are like 14 to 19 minutes, which is like I think that's a perfect amount of time because, you know, Rob Dial, Dial, like dial the phone, ROB. And Mindset Mentor is that podcast. He's great. He's got years and years of podcasts. They're very raw. They're very real. And I love them. So these are the other kind of things that I started to do to try to get my mindset back to where I needed it to be. Because my mindset was in a really good place. And then like my entire world that like I always knew for 38 years, like came crashing down last July. And this is not supposed to be like about me, but I just want you guys to understand the walk that I've gone through. So like when I say that like I've done all these things, I do all these things. And I do all these things because I literally, I don't want to say I was going to like take my life because I wasn't going to do that. That's not who I am. But I was at the point where I was like, I just don't give a fuck. I'm done. I'm going to fucking just walk away from everything. I'm going to walk away from Mary. I'm going to walk away from this team. I'm going to walk away from everything because how could this happen to me? Right? I got that like real victim mindset. Okay. Like, and that's your first problem. If you're somebody that thinks, how could this happen to me? I want you to start thinking, why is this happening for me? Because everything that you may think that is a roadblock for you is actually a lesson that you have to learn. And you need to start looking at it as more of a blessing. Why did this happen to me? Okay, I may have gotten a flat tire on the side of the road and I am late to do something else and everything else. And I don't know how to fix this flat tire. And it may not seem like a blessing in that moment, but there is a lesson to learn there. And there's a reason that it happened. And I started to be very mindful of the things that I thought were happening to me. And I started thinking like, why did this happen? This happened for me. This happened for me so I could heal, right? This happened for me so I could grow. So I encourage you to always like, just kind of try to change that like victim mindset because I had that very much. Why is this happening to me? Everything fucking goes wrong for me. This always happens when I do good things for other people. Like, this is why I shouldn't be kind. Like, none of those things are true. None of those things are true. All of those things were happening to me because it was like, Darnell, stop trusting the wrong people. Stop being so frivolous with your feelings. It was teaching me lessons that I didn't want to see at the time. But now that I look back, every little misstep, it was like universe being like, hello, wake up. This is not a good situation. Like, where you at, girl? Right. So I held on to things for a really, really long time. I still hold on to things. I go to therapy weekly. I do think if you can talk to somebody at least once a month, it's important to go and talk to someone who's an unbiased opinion. If you can't, I get that. I do, but I highly recommend it because I think I wouldn't have been able to really, I think, execute a lot of these ways into my life if I wasn't able to talk to somebody and get some things off of my chest. Because I think a lot of us, we silently struggle because we don't ever want to feel like a burden to somebody else. I'm sure a lot of us feel that way. So we just keep things to ourselves. And when we keep things to ourselves, we make our body like, we make our body not at ease, right? And like it causes disease when you're not at ease. The more that you're stressed out, the more itises you're going to have, and more of these autoimmune disease that nobody knows where they're coming from start. Why? Because like you're in this state of not being restful, right? And you have so much on your plate and you're not expressing it, right? So something I've learned to do is like, if after 24 hours something is still bothering me, I need to figure out how to get rid of it. Either write it down about why it's bothering me and how I can like fix it, or discuss it with whoever is bothering me. Discuss the situation. Because the longer you hold on to these things, the more it's going to eat at you inside and the more it's going to consume your thoughts, right? Like I know if my husband says something nasty to me, I'm gonna think about that shit all day long until he gets home. And I'm like, and I'm just like, oh. And then he wants to say this to me. And I start thinking about it all day long. And I fuel myself for him to get home. But if I just would have been like, hey, babe, it really bothered me when you said this to me. Like, do you really feel this way? Like, can we talk about this a little bit? None of that would have happened, right? It's a totally different situation if you're just willing to learn how to express your feelings. So first and foremost, if after 24 hours it is still bothering you, figure out, number two, how to learn how to express your feelings properly, okay? Expressing your feelings is major. It's major. It's something that I did not know how to do for a very, very long time. Like I said, I was a silent struggler for a really long time. And I thought that I could do everything by myself and I didn't need anybody's help because I was always kind of on my own, like growing up. It was like me and my siblings. I was always on my own. So I always just kind of felt like, I don't need your motherfucking help. Okay. I don't need your help. I got this. Like, and while I did have it, I made things a lot harder for me because I wasn't willing to just ask for help. Asking for help is so hard for so many people. Hi, I'm one of them. Like, I never like to look at my husband and say that I'm overwhelmed and I need help. And you know how many arguments we've had because I wasn't just willing to be like, can you come help me unload the dishwasher while I finish making dinner? And if I would have just asked him nicely, like, hey, babe, I'm just want to finish making dinner, but the dishwasher needs to be unloaded. Would you mind helping me? He'd be like, of course. And he'd immediately get up and help. But instead, I would slam things behind me and I would make the biggest scene in the world so he would hear me. And he'd be like, do you need something? And I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just in here cooking for all of you while you lay there with your feet up. Who talks to their husband like that? Because that was me, right? Like, that's who I was. Honestly, that's what I did. When I say I was abusive, I was abusive. Like, without a doubt, instead of me just asking for help when I'm overwhelmed, I wasn't capable of doing it. And then I started to abuse the ones that I loved because of it. So, number three, learn to ask for help. Learn to ask for help, because if you can't, you're going to start feeling really, really fucking heavy. You can't carry the weight of everything. I said this to my friend one time. Like, I don't know who I was on the phone with. I think I was on the phone with Amanda, and she was telling me 19 things she had to do in one day. And I was like, when I hung up the phone, and my friend was sitting at the table, he's like, are you okay? And I looked at him and I went like this. I go, let me not wear a hat that doesn't belong to me. And he goes, what happened? I go, my girlfriend Amanda does not know how to say no, and she wears way too many hats for her well-being. How many of you wear way too many hats for your well-being? You don't have to be everything to everyone. You're not supposed to be. You're not supposed to be, okay? So it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to fucking just put some weight down and let it go. You're not gonna be perfect. You're not gonna be perfect. And you know, Another thing that helps me get a lot of the things out of my head and maybe figure out what I can ask for help with is I do a brain dump. I don't know if you've ever heard of those before, but I literally will sit and write an entire list of all the things I need to get done, like everything that's on my to-do list just to get it out of my head, putting pen to paper, right? I'll get all of it down on paper and then I go through and I categorize it. If it's a number one, it is something that I have to do. I am number one. I'm the only one that can do this task. Nobody else can do it. If it's a number two, it's something that I have to do, but I can put off till another day. If it's a number three, it is something that I can delegate to another human being and I need to delegate out. And if it's a number four, this is a bullshit task that you made up for yourself that you don't need to be involved in and needs to come the hell off your list. Okay. So that's what I'll do sometimes when I'm feeling really super overwhelmed with all of these thoughts. Right. And then you can kind of see like sometimes our thoughts get the best of us and we really think that like all these things are important. And I'm like, this shit is actually not important at all and does not matter in the grand scheme of things. This is not going to matter tomorrow. I'm not going to let it matter now. Like, again, if it's going to bother you in 24 hours, handle it. But if it's not going to matter in 24 hours, let it go. Let it go, right? Let it go. Okay. Next one. Start treating yourself like you are a responsibility of your own. Okay, if you have kids, start treating yourself the way you treat your kids. Start treating yourself the way you treat your responsibilities. Start treating yourself the way you treat the humans that you are responsible for. That is a really hard thing to do, friends, right? Because ain't nobody coming to give us a bath. Ain't nobody coming to like make us dinner every single night. But you know what? You can find 1 hour a week that you can have to yourself, that you can do something nice for yourself. And it doesn't mean going out and spending money and getting your nails done. It could just mean sitting in complete silence on your back patio for 1 full hour. Because you know what? Silence helps your mind heal and it helps you grow and it helps you, and sitting in nature helps you see things differently, right? So like start treating yourself the same way you would treat everyone that you love and everyone that you care for, because you can't keep pouring into these people from an empty cup. I said this to my sister this weekend while we were away. The bottom line is that if you never take time away from your kids and your husband and your loved ones, A, you don't have time to miss each other, and B, you don't have time to replenish and fill that cup. If you're pouring from an empty cup, nothing comes out. This is just empty, friends. But if you remember to fill yourself at least once a day, even if it's for 20 minutes, you give yourself 20 minutes to be about you. That isn't about anybody else. That's huge. And it's important. And if you're like, well, I don't have 20 minutes, that's a lie. That's a lie you're telling yourself. Get up an hour before your kids get up. Go to bed an hour after they go to bed. Give yourself the time that you deserve. You know it's there. You just want to get in bed. And I get it. I get it. I used to be that way too. I don't like to get up like early, but when I used to wake up with my kids, I'm not a morning person. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And I would scream, I would yell. Everybody was mad at each other on the way to school. So I was like, something's got to give. Like, I need time to wake up. So let me get up before them because I'm the adult here. It took me a while to realize that I'm the adult. I was also raised by a narcissist. So like, I have a lot of really deep-seated generational curses that I'm breaking, friends. So if you ever catch me in a moment where I am being like a complete narcissist, please point that out to me and be like, homegirl, this is not acceptable, because I am trying to break every tendency and thing that I was taught in my life. But I didn't realize, for so long that like I was really the problem for so many of these things. If I just would have got up an hour earlier and woke up and had my coffee and taken my morning bathroom time and felt like I poured into myself, that when they got up, I'm happy. I'm happy. I've got breakfast ready for them. Hello, my sweet boy. I made you eggs. The day totally changed when I started waking up an hour earlier, because nobody wants to be woken up to with somebody being like, Mom, make me breakfast. Mom, do this for me. I don't like being woken up, being told what to do by little tiny terrorists. That doesn't work for me, right? So I had to figure out how to make it work for me. How do I make being a mom work for me? Because that was something that was hard for me. I really struggled with that in the beginning. Like, I didn't want to give up who I was, but I also had to give up some of who I was, because like she needed to evolve with her kids. She needed to grow up with her kids, And that was something that I started to realize when I started treating myself like I was a priority. And another way that you can do it is like just journaling, working out, talk therapy, meditate, things like that. That also is really like it's grounding, it's good for you, gives you time to reflect. Um, Something I did for a really long time was I tried to escape my pain for a really long time, friends. And I didn't realize that again until I was here because I wasn't mentally well until I was on these products for probably 6 months before I started to realize how unwell I was. I'm not crazy. I'm just a little unwell. No, that was me. Like I was crazy and unwell, and it wasn't a little bit. Like, and I never wanted to admit that about myself, but I was. And I had to realize that, like, I drank a lot because I was trying to run away from something. I smoked a lot of weed while I drank because I didn't want to remember really what happened that night. And it was just easier if I got fucked up, but it was just easier if I yelled at my husband about all these things. It was just this vicious cycle that I had put myself into, friends. And I had to realize that I was doing this because I was trying to escape pain that I didn't want to walk through from like my childhood and stuff like that. So if there's just shit that you're holding on to, I get it. I feel you. I'm still walking through some of those like flames. Like some days I'm like, oh, I'm in like an ice bath. And other days I'm like, oh my God, who turned this up to boil because I'm ready to explode again, you know? So I, healing isn't linear, you know, it's a process. It's a forever thing for me. But trying to escape that pain, you're going to find ways that are not healthy to try to escape it if you don't walk through it. So that's like one of my suggestions is trying to walk through it a little bit. Other thing that I wrote down is spend more time in silence. Spend more time in silence. It's really when like you get your best thoughts. If you feel like you can't, if you're like haven't been creative lately, turn the radio off in your car when you drive. Drive like just with the windows down and just let your brain be. There's just something about like that silence and the buzzing stops that you can just, your brain just kind of opens up again. Your energy changes. You come out of that fight or flight mode that you've been in all day and you can calm down and you can kind of see things differently. So spend more time in silence. Like I said, even if it means waking up earlier, an hour earlier before your kids so you can sit there in silence with that coffee, that's amazing. It's an amazing thing for yourself. Okay, and I got 3 more points and I'm done. And they're quick ones. And they all kind of go together. No, the podcast I've already done, so I got 2 more points. Never mind. This is gonna hit a lot of you. Stop trying to be perfect, friends. Perfect doesn't exist. That's just never gonna happen. Your video is never gonna be perfect. Your video is never gonna be completely finished. The way you want it to. You're always going to find something wrong with the way you said something. You're always going to be like, I said too many times. I don't like the way the shadow looked on my nose. Like, you have no idea some of the things that I used to say to myself about like my pictures. And when you do things like that, you know what you're doing? You're putting yourself down. You're nitpicking at yourself. You're making yourself feel like the things you do are not worthy of you. And that's bullshit, friends. If you only had 3 minutes to make this video and you have 10 minutes to put these words on it and get it up, do it. Because you know what? That video might resonate with somebody else who's feeling in the same place that you are. It's authentic and it's real. When you're trying to be perfect, people know it. People don't like fake. They like the real shit, period. They don't like the fake, you know? And like, you got to give yourself some grace. Got to give yourself some grace because we're all going to fuck up. So when you do fuck up, give yourself some grace. Did you get everything on your to-do list today, Ann? Nope, but I got number 1 done, and that's better than none, homegirl. That's it. Be proud of what you did, right? Like, don't focus on what you didn't do. Focus on what you did do, okay? Because, like, I have not gotten a new VIP all month, friends. It's the 7th, okay? I'm the leader of a lot of you here, and I have not gotten a new VIP this month. And I was really mad at myself this morning about that. And then I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you mad at yourself about this? Number 1, you've never had a month where that's never happened. You're always meeting new people, Darnell. You're always talking to new people. So you know that's not true. You know, and I started to tell myself all these reasons why I will have VIPs this month and why that is not a true statement. Because here's a lot of the things. This is another thing Rob Dial said, and I'm going to kind of end it with this. I know Kristen wants to say some things too. But Rob Giles said today, he's like, you can't control your first thought, but you can control your second thought. Okay, the first thought that pops into your mind might not be a nice one, right? Might be something that's like critical of somebody else. Like you may see somebody walk in the room that's like, a bigger girl wearing like a shirt like this, and you're like, whoa, what is she doing? Why is she wearing that? No, 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 no. That first thought you can't control, but that second thought should be, damn, look at how brave that girl is. Putting herself out there, not giving a fuck what anybody thinks about her. I wish I could be brave like her. That's what you should turn that thought into, right? So, like, just know that that first thought, it might be shitty. We're all shitty people. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, we have been like raised to be critical and to like not love our bodies and to not love like everything about ourselves, and that we're never good enough, and we're not going to be as fit enough and pretty enough and smart enough and all the things. You're never going to be enough for anybody. You have to be enough for you. That's it. That's it. You have to be enough for you. And if you can just change that thought every time it's a shitty one, be like, nah, all right, you got to come in, but now you don't get to stay. You must go. I'm going to tell you why, because all these reasons that it's not true. So those are the things that have really helped me get out of my funk for a year. I think I was really in the funk. I don't remember much of the end of last year. I think I started remembering like right after Christmas. I kind of started remembering my life again. And I was like, oh, this is a fun place. Where have I been? Because I was just like walking in like disassociation land. And I'm sure we all have been in that place of disassociation where you're just going through the motions and you're like, how the fuck did I get my car here? And you're like, I haven't even started drinking, like nothing. And like, to be honest, if it wasn't for this company and it wasn't for all of these, like, if it wasn't for this community, I would have 100% turned to the bottle when all this started, because I was a heavy drinker for a really long time. And I had given up alcohol for a while because right before, like 6 months before all this happened, just because there was something in me that was like, you need to stop drinking. You need to stop drinking like for a while. You've never stopped drinking in your entire life. It's time to just like give it a rest, put it down for a hot minute. So I put it down. I was sober for a while. I mean, I don't even know how long, because I didn't want to keep track. I didn't want to count days. I wasn't here to count days. I was somebody that like opened a drink every single day at 5 o'clock, and I needed to change that habit. So instead of not opening the drink, I just changed what was in my hand. I started doing Delta 8 videos and making like drinks with Delta 8. And then I kind of started to grow a community a little bit that way. But I can tell you, if it wasn't for all of these people in this company, in this community, and Travis and Kristen believing in me, and Kristen Gonzalez checking on me and sending me packages, and Amanda sending flowers to my house, and Daryl and Ellis sending bracelets and shit, I would have just given up. I would have just given up. So it's the community here at the end of the day, friends, that like, it's everything. It's everything. And we will always help you keep your mindset like where it needs to be. It's okay that you get off track, but just know you have a huge community here that will help get you back on it when you fall off. Because you're going to fall off. You're going to fuck up. Shit's going to happen. That's real life. We're not going to pretend that that's not going to happen, because I don't believe in toxic positivity. I don't. Bad things happen. Mistakes happen. Shitty things happen. We fuck up. People fuck up. It is what it is. But it's how you handle those situations, right? It's how you handle it moving forward. So those are my like little tips for mindset. I hope you all got a little something out of it. I know Kristen wants to say some things too, because she's all about personal development.
Yes, I love it. That was so good. I mean, so many good reminders for me too. I wrote a bunch down, and I don't know if y'all know me. I won't share all my story, but I started with Ariel about back in 2020 because I literally was losing my shit, which I have also lost my shit the last 3 weeks too. Mainly just this week, but it's okay. We're at my parents' house, and it's a huge blessing to be able to be in Orlando for 3 weeks and have fun and go places. But my kids are out of their elements and off their rockers, and I'm extra thankful for our products. And I'm starting to feel like I was back in 2020, and why I started with this company, because I was just a mom of a newborn baby in a pandemic with a toddler, trying to work from home, my husband trying to work from home. I was trying to be this leader in a company. I was running a multi-million-dollar organization, and I was just trying to figure it all out. And I was stressed out, crying in the closet. And these products have totally saved me. And this week they've saved me and they've saved my child. So I did not kill him. So he's still alive. It's good. But anyways, I wanted to talk a little bit about more, I guess, like business mindset. Cause I feel like Darnell did a lot of like personal mindset. I want you to think of a sponge. So when you have a sponge and, a sponge soaks up water, right? You can place a sponge in like a totally muddy, dirty, messy area. What's the sponge going to soak up? The dirt, right? You have a sponge, you can put it in clear, crystal, clean water. What's it going to soak up? Clean water, right? So a lot of that to me is just an analogy for like what environment are you surrounding yourself with? What are you putting into yourself? Because what you put in is what's going to spew out, just like the sponge. If you are around the dirty environment, if you have negative thoughts coming in, and sometimes we can't help people and what they say, but we can, like Darnell says, the first thought we can't really control, but the second one we can. So maybe someone says something that hurts your feelings. How can you help shift the mindset? Because you can start a new day at any point of the day. It can be 12:32 and someone said something that pissed you off, hurt your feelings. Maybe they, talked about your size or whatever. My kids are on this fat kick and I don't know why, but they're like, "You're fat, mommy." I'm like, rude. I don't know, but I could either let it affect me or I could not. Right. And so, I can control some of my environment around me too. And so if I'm listening to positive, uplifting music, if I'm listening to those podcasts, if I'm filling myself with the positivity, that's what's going to come out of me is the positivity, because that's what has just been put into my brain. I talk about a bulletproof mindset because in this business, you have to learn to get a bulletproof mindset because people are going to come at you. It could be your spouse. It could be your family. It could be, just your dearest friends, right? They're like, "Oh, network marketing, pyramid schemes." One of my aunts who had done well in life, she's like, "Oh, Kristen's going to make $1 million off that sticker, my last company." And I'm like, you know what? Yes, I fucking am. And I fucking did. So there you go. Right. And so, things are just going to come at you, but how are you going to bulletproof yourself? Like, I love listening to personal development because when I have a shitty day, like, I don't know, things pop in my head like that just I've heard from a podcast somewhere. I don't even remember who, but it would be like something that just gets me going. Or if I'm just not motivated, right? I'm like, okay, Mel Robbins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast up like a rocket. Just get that shit done. Just do the suck first, get it over with, and then move on. Right. And so I don't know, you've got to fill yourself with that positivity. So that's what comes out. And people read that. In business, people want to be around someone positive. They don't want to be around someone who's complaining or gossiping or like, not happy with their situation. So it's kind of our job to, yes, I love the 5-second rule. It's kind of our job to be positive, uplifting people. And it's hard sometimes to keep that. And so like, I have to be conscious about what I'm actually listening to. Do I love rap music? Yes, I love rap music, but sometimes the rap music isn't the most positive. The WAP is probably not the best thing I should be fueling my brain with, but I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love the twerk. We have a good time, but like, I also have to have some positivity in there too. Sometimes we praise Jesus, sometimes it's a podcast, it's all different things. But in business, how are you talking to yourself? Are you telling yourself you're going to be successful, or are you telling yourself you suck? Oh God, I didn't even get a VIP this month. I'm shitty. Cause I've gone through this week, actually. Kristen asked me to speak at conference or whatever this is, mini conference reunion. And I'm like, why? I'm like, I feel like I've been doing nothing lately. Like, what would I even speak on? Like, am I bringing in team members? No. Am I like, my sales are just normal? Like, like I feel like I'm not extraordinary right now. And so I'm like, I don't even know what I feel like I have credibility on. And I'm like, no, get out of your head. You have so many things that you can say, like, that's going to help people. Like, stop with the negativity. And so I also want you to think about business wise, as far as finances. I had this talk with Darylyn this week about a broke mindset and like, I guess a rich mindset can be the word, a wealthy. Let's go with wealthy. I like wealthy over rich. What have we always been told, right? What do most of our families tell us? Put in the chat. Like, what has your family told you about money? And my parents are here and they're going to hear this. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? What else? I can't think. I wrote some things down. I don't know, even like, oh, I'm broke. Like sometimes, I used to joke about it. Oh, I'm broke. I can't afford it. Yeah, I can't afford that. Or we can't afford that. Think about what you're even saying to your kids, right? Like what you say to your kids. I had a coach tell me, she's like, instead of saying I can't afford that, switch it to I am choosing not to purchase that right now so I can purchase other things. Okay. Maybe I can't even, afford whatever it might be. I might not be able to afford it because it's not in my bank account. But instead of saying I can't afford it, say I'm choosing not to pay for it. I'm choosing not to purchase it. And so the mindset of money goes from that broke victim mentality to it's going to happen for me and I'm worthy of it and I deserve it. And sometimes we get, my husband's a financial advisor. So I feel like, he tells me a lot, like people feel like, money's the root of all evil, right? You hear that. Yeah, some things you've been told. I didn't see the chat and now my little light thingy is in the way. I can't click on it, but, I feel like we get this negative persona of money, how it could be bad if you have a lot of it. And that's not it at all. If you don't have cash, you can't get it. Yeah. I love Dave Ramsey. Oh, you have something to say, Darnell?
I want to add on to that the money is root of all evil. So the actual saying, and this is funny, there's a couple of these popular phrases in American history where it's like the money is the root of all evil. No, friends. The love of money is the root of all evil. The love of it, right? Like there is another one, blood is thicker than water. Y'all, that ain't the saying. You know what the saying is? Like this one like blew my mind. It's the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. So as much as like your family wants to guilt you into saying like blood is thicker than water, nah. The blood here is thicker than anyone can ever realize. That's So I got that one always got me too, because I'm like, no.
Yeah. And we just say it because that's what was been told to us, right? And so we don't look into it really. You just keep on saying. And so I feel like sometimes even if we start to make money, right? Because this happened to me. I started making a lot of money in network marketing. I started to feel bad. Like I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to outshine someone. I don't want to brag. I don't want to boast. I don't want to be like, oh, look what I can buy and look what I can do. And I did get caught up in that for a minute too. But I also am like, okay, my journey is my journey. Someone else's journey is their journey. And it's okay to make money. It's okay to have money. Money makes good people better and bad people worse, right? I feel like that's a thing too, a saying too. But like for me, making money was like, I want to give more. I want to give more than I ever made as a teacher. Like my salary as a teacher was $50,000. I want to be able to give more than that in a year. That's my goal. I want to send people on mission trips. I want to create memories with my kids. I want to be able to save for their college fund if they want to go or not. Like, I want to be able to invest in things to, like multiply our money so I can create this wealth for my kids down the road. I want to be smart with my money. I don't want to blow it on silly things like I have done in the past, but it's okay to make money. It's okay to buy nice things too. That's okay. If you want to, that's okay. But I think sometimes we just get in a mindset of like, I'm never going to make money. This is never going to work out for me. I remember being a teacher when I first started teaching, being a hamster in a wheel. I felt like I would get money and then it would go, and I would get money and then it would go. And I remember crying to my mom, like, how am I ever going to have kids? Like, how am I ever going to raise a family? Because I can barely even afford to pay for myself, especially nowadays, right? Like, holy moly, everything is so more like way expensive. So, but that's okay. Tell yourself, I can and I will afford these things. I can and I will take my kids on that trip to Disney. I can and I will be able to create a legacy for my family down the road. I am not going to blow every single penny that I make. I am going to save. I'm going to be smart with this. I'm going to give every dollar a name. I'm going to make sure that I am responsible with the money that God is giving me. I'm responsible with the money that I'm earning here, because it is up to me on how to manage that money responsibly for my future. Because when an emergency happens, when a rainy day happens, because it will, I'm not stressed out about it. And that stress isn't reflecting on other people. And I'm not spewing it out like the sponge that soaked up the dirty water, right? So there's more that I could talk about business mindset wise. We can probably do it another time because we've been on here for a little bit, but I just had a few points that I wanted to just share with you guys. But it really does start with, looking at your environment and what are maybe some things that you can change. If you're not happy with it, like what are little tweaks that you can change? And if it's just starting with what you listen to, then start with that. If it's looking at how you manage stress, like Darnell already gave us ways to help manage that stress. And I'm sure we know some ways, but start practicing that and implementing it. Maybe it's some kind of environment you need to change. Okay. Oh, 1% changes. I thought you meant your phone was dying because my phone's dying. It might cut me off here in a minute, but personal development is huge because it also reflects into your business development. So that's all I had. But if you're coming this weekend, I'm so excited to see everybody. If you're not, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to go live and I'm going to share live in our Team High Vibes Facebook page. They can get mad at me if they want. They should have sold virtual tickets in my opinion, but that's all another story. But so I'm just going to go live.
Good for you. I mean, just do it. Whatever. It's easier to, what does Jenny always say? Ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And I'm like, ooh, I'm always like too uptight. I always like, ooh, may I please do this? And Jenny's like, don't ask, let's just do it. And she's right. Because she's right about a lot of things. So I'm like, she nailed that one in the head. But yes, if I can't wait to see you guys. I need to go pack. We are leaving for Legoland tomorrow. And then we will be a family reunion after that. And I'm so excited. And there's going to be announcements on Saturday. They're launching new things. Chris, we're all praying it's the new CBG forward item because he promised you this. So I'm like praying. I'm praying. I will get in his face. I swear. I'll be like, you told her. We need this. All right, friends. If there's anything you ever need, please reach out. If you're ever struggling, don't struggle alone, friends. That's like the moral of the story here. Don't struggle alone. Mindset is definitely key. We all get stuck in that comparison trap. We all can be our own worst critic. We all don't like to show ourselves grace, but stop doing that shit to yourself. It ain't worth it. You only get to do this life once. You may get to do it in another body another time, but you only get to do it in this body one time, friends. Like, make the most of it. Be happy. Unconditional joy is your birthright, regardless. So I love you all. We will talk to you guys later this week, I'm sure. And we've got opportunity call tomorrow night. So have a good night, friends.